All right, we were able to fix that thumbnail. Thank you so much for joining. Make sure to oh wait, is it live yet? 8:19. That's right now. But thank you so much for joining this morning. If you are joining and the video is not live, then check in if you would like to see the last 15 minutes where we are going to break down every stock that we cover on this channel. And today we have some good stuff going on because we do have those daily ranges for each individual stock. We just gave out those new monthly ranges, right? So those new monthly ranges on the SPY are on here, but we're looking at the shorter time frames today. If you need those ranges, look for that over the weekend. And then also, if you do need the ranges for all of the stocks that we do cover besides, the SPY and the Qs, we'll give that to you for free. But if you want the monthly ranges for every stock that we do cover on this channel, it's going to be down in the description, all right? So come join back and join that community because we give another video out every single Wednesday for Patreon. Thank you guys so much for joining. Good morning. Hopefully you got your coffee going. I got mine going. Well, technically I didn't get it going. I want to give credit where it's due, Oh no, I'm gonna sing it all day, Danny. Oh no. You can make fried chicken? Oh, that sounds really good. I am down with that. I am down with that. We have data releasing in about 40 minutes, opens in about 10 minutes. I thought something was wrong with the stream. I was like, there's only one person in here. That's all right. But we do have all of those ranges up on all these stocks, so we can see pre-market here a little bit up. The thing that was interesting was the futures here, SPY and the actual US 100. We actually hit higher levels last night. Pretty interesting. And then the SPY, I don't know if this one actually hit higher than the previous. Looks like it came in almost even with that. So pretty interesting stuff that's happening after market hours. But SPY, we notice our range here. If you weren't here for the video last night, give that video a click. Maybe watch it before you start your day. But 511.69 to the upside, 504.47 to the downside. Qs here, starting to see a little bit of a push higher, 442.82 to the upside. So this zone up here, pretty important moving forward. Hello from Ireland. Hello, Paddy. Oh, Paddy. I'm sorry. I'm sure everyone who's American probably gives you an accent when you do it, but oh, Paddy, he likes to trade. Is that Scottish? Is that more Scottish? I'm trying to sound like my Irish teammate. Not Kieran. What was his name? Colum. 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 I was like, interesting. But yeah, 442.82 to the upside for today, 435.18. Think this area up here, if we get bullish, going to be really important by that weekly expected move. IWM pushing higher. Apple still dipping into this zone. Potential here for a turnaround as even the 5-minute gets into positive territory. Looking for that hourly to turn around. Those levels for today, 182.86 for Apple and 178.42 to the downside for Apple. So could go a little deeper into that range. Amazon solid push higher, not near its weekly expected move yet. If you're part of the Patreon, you already know this. It's not near its weekly expected move as of right now. A little bit higher up there. Okay, so 179.14 to the upside and 174.38 to the downside. Tesla, pretty good move looking for today. This actually could close this gap. So this 206.81, if we just go tiny bit past that today, we actually could come up into the top here, close that gap up. Some unfinished business behind that. We've kind of consolidated a little bit sideways here. DS has nice earnings. I haven't looked at them, but to the upside for Tesla, 206.81 to the upside, 196.79. Let me get through these real quick just so it's here at the beginning of the video. And we're seeing now here on NVIDIA, not the biggest range, okay, just outside of 800. I expected a bigger range here. So if NVIDIA gets excited, we can see that start to squeeze a little bit. But right now, 807.44 to the upside, 774.80 to the downside. Pretty much the range that we're dealing with right now is where those lines are at. Oh yeah, I have to go fix something. It's because my thumbnail started to screw up this morning, so I was fixing it. Finishing up, AMD, big move in AMD, still moving, and this is what I was saying in my video. This could just keep going because it's just really squeezing. Look, it's at that 199.50. Really want to pay attention to the upside of that flat number of 200. That's going to be probably the most important number for the day for AMD, and if we get excited outside of 200, we actually might fall back into this range today. So, something to pay attention to. And then lastly, we do have Meta. We have those weeklies up for you on Meta. If Meta starts to see some strength here, it's built up a lot of liquidity in this little cup and handle here, right? We're getting a lot of cups and a few handles is what I would say, right? We get this cupping in here, we get this handle, and then we come up, we get another hand. So you just got a bunch of handling here. So you want to see if that's able to actually head higher. Maybe this was some kind of liquidity grab and we're actually going to go. So news does come out in about, what is that, 35 minutes? But in 5 minutes, we get the opening bell. So that'll be interesting moving forward. We can kind of click around throughout this hour here today. Let me see if I can fix the... make sure that live video is not posting anywhere. Thank you for liking the stream already. You guys are awesome. The bull run. Okay, this one here is delete forever. Delete for. All right, now we got the right stuff up. Also, who the heck didn't tell me? We already talked about this. Who didn't tell me about my thumbnail saying stocks market? Come on, guys. Stocks market live. Nobody told me about that. Thank you again for liking the stream here. What's going on? Syed Alim, opinion on Shopify for today, please. I haven't looked at Shopify in a little bit of time here. We can go take a look real quick. Let's pull back at least to an hourly here. A lot of divergence down here at the bottom. Potential to get into positive territory here, actually. Potential for a decent bounce. This slight wedging, actually, you might even see this as some kind of wedging at this point. See this start to go higher. There's your kind of downward trend here. See that tapering come in. This could be retesting the level that it broke out of. You actually could see this kind of scoop up. So on the hourly here, really see if you're able to create that cup and handle up here. This looks like an important place. Maybe that's able to get there and start a positive trend, get this hourly above that 200. Daily side of things, let's look at it on the daily. Starting to go into a negative trend, so you really want to see some kind of bounce here. Maybe even just to reconnect with the 50 before you start to head lower, or get some kind of more meaningful bounce. We'll have to see. I think some positivity might come in throughout the day today. Regional banks are going to be some of the ones that are getting under pressure right now. And you see that pressure. Look at that earnings coming out. That's not the best look, especially from the daily side of things. I don't think you've ever seen prices this cheap, right? Yeah, it's probably been a very long time since you could get prices this cheap. Be very careful with the banks around this rate raising campaign. Just note that you probably want to make sure that your bank is not going underwater or anything like that. If you're going to invest in one right now, because we actually could see some bank failures. Now, usually we see those scooped up. Someone comes in and buys them, kind of like, what was it? The SVB. That one got bought back up, right? Got kind of absorbed, but that's why it wasn't like the worst news in the world. But I think we're about to see more of those over the coming months. Seeing that drop off one more time. A little bit scared of this one. The SPY just found this little trend above us going all the way back to the previous highs. And it's right above us, so this would be interesting to go tag. That's why I have it up here today. It actually would be interesting because we could go a tiny bit higher. I think I need to pull that down just a little bit, but the big thing there is we actually could go a tiny bit higher. We have the build to go higher at this point. We just need that news. We'll have to see what PMI produces today. Let me make sure I have some of that info up. But good morning. Good morning. How is everyone's week going? Good or bad, at least we're here hanging out, having some fun. Let's see. Get my data calendar up here. We have the PMI supposed to come in at just a little bit higher. So 49.5 is what the consensus is. Previous was 49.1. So we'll have to see if that comes in as good for the market. Canada SP Global Manufacturing PMI reported 49.7, previously at 48.3. So Canada producing a higher number as of right now. And that's where you're going to see that little bit of a pop. You see this pop early on. That news just came out for Canada. Let's see if the U.S. market, we can follow that, the ISM manufacturing PMI here. So we're going to see that positivity. We just want to see if there is any kind of sell-off at the end of today. Some big boys maybe selling some positions before we possibly see that government shutdown. God damn, hurt my finger in it. All right, let's see what they're talking about at the opening bell here. Usually they start talking about some good stuff. I want you guys to hear the volume, the sound twice through my speakers.
Demand. Abigail Doolittle will tell me where the AI.
And don't worry, we got the Stitch hat on today.
Well, it's
the most lucky hat we own.
The deal and in the report and in this stock surging 35%, its best day ever since re-going public, re-IPOing back in 2018. So it is soaring on a big beat, top and bottom. The bottom line.
I'm gonna click through, seeing if anything's tagging at the open.
Adjusted earnings. That's 28% better. That has to do with the $9.33 billion.
There's that buying back from that zone on Apple.
Infrastructure unit. That is that AI technology. So we now have Dell Technologies becoming, it seems, one of the AI proxies.
Ooh, NVDA already getting towards it.
Associated with AI, especially when you consider that into today, this stock up
it's about 5 points away.
So this report did not disappoint, despite the fact, and this is interesting because when I think
AMD
of
might top out here. We'll have to see.
But
I really think it's got a good chance.
Personal PC revenues dropped 12%. So this AI technology, the potential there is more than making it up.
I want to say it goes to
by
200.
24.5 cents per share. So again, we may be looking at another AI proxy. And then very quickly, Manus, just moments ago, or I should say about 15 minutes ago, we broke the news that Wall Street Journal is reporting that MNC Capital is making a $35
big move in Meta going up towards that trend as of right now.
7% right now. Its best day since
still probably see if that PMI comes out as good news. Meta can see a big move here.
Close to the bid offer of $35, suggesting maybe that there is optimism that this deal will actually happen.
Yeah, well, the M&A, ladies and gentlemen,
he is as of now saying, hey, we want to go higher.
Deals are flowing in. Abby, thank you very much. From leaders to laggards, shares in NY Community Bank, they were getting hammered in the pre-market, identifying material weakness in how they track
that's what you were talking about
reviews.
this morning.
Now, the company is also announcing changes in the C-suite. Katie Greifeld is with me. Katie, no reprieve as we go through the opening rotation.
Not at all. The stock really plunging this morning, and it's the material weakness in its reviews that really seems to have analysts on edge right now. But let's go through all of what we learned yesterday. Of course, NYCB said in a filing that they discovered, quote, material weakness in how it tracks loan risks. It also wrote down the value of companies it acquired years ago. And like you mentioned, of course, it announced that Alessandro Dinello will become the bank's new CEO. Remember, the drama first erupted in January when NYCB said that it was stockpiling cash to cover, of course, potential loan problems. Wall Street really has.
This is what we're saying. Banks are going to start to be underwater soon.
You
might have to cut those rates very quickly quickly, and that is
Piper
not a
Sandler
good
saying
thing.
that the latest disclosures, quote, give us concern that there could be more issues coming down the pike. Of course, we heard
But yeah,
something
able to get
similar
above
from Citi
800
saying
though, that is
the
a
main
good
issue
sign.
is that
See if we're able to
management's statement
squeeze
of
above that
material
800.
weakness in its internals controls with respect to a key foundation of its business model. You add it together, and of course, the outlook is
Tesla,
very
a little bit of a down move
right
here.
now. The stock
See, maybe we
continuing
get
to
some kind of
accelerate
double bottom
to the
here.
downside, currently down about 27%, Manus.
Okay, Katie, thank you very much. Katie Greifeld on
Thank you,
N1
Katie.
Community Bank Corp. Very much
Got a
under
great
pressure.
voice.
Now, some of the issues with the paperwork over at Beyond Meat, the company failing to file what's called a 10K report by February 29th, the deadline, due to technical difficulties, we're told. Simone Foxman can give us the details. What have we
Okay,
got,
don't
Simone?
knock everything
Well,
over.
the good news is that Beyond Meat has now filed in the past hour its 10K, but it wasn't able to squeak it under the wire in that February 29th deadline. 10Ks, as many of you know, is these forms.
More Pando. Oh, thank you for joining the Patreon, More
The
Pando.
challenges, the goals for any company. They have to be in by the end of February, but U.S. rules do permit an extension to March 15th. So Beyond Meat did file this. It hit its highest on a share basis in the past 6 months yesterday after a bunch of
no turkey noise. Well, that wasn't
earlier
turkey.
this week with fourth quarter sales coming in pretty positive, looking for a path to profitability.
You know he
this
doesn't play
year.
with you.
So shares not really moving too much
the
in
dogs.
reaction to this, a little bit higher now that it's gotten that 10K in. The other name that
We still have
hasn't,
25 minutes
filed
till we get
its
that PMI
10K yet
news.
is Archer Daniels Midland. This is a U.S.
Slightly good
agricultural
sign.
trader.
Canada
It is
producing
delayed
a better
publication
number.
for
Let's
a
see what
different
happens
reason.
here.
It's doing an internal probe of its accounting issues having to do with its nutrition unit, according to sources. And in January, announced it's put its CFO on leave. So this morning said it anticipates reporting material
Meta has a good
weakness in
chance
the
to get to
company's
500
internal
today.
financial reporting
500 is where
practices,
people will start to
but
look
did
at that.
say, and this may be the cause of some of this enthusiasm in the shares this morning, that this won't impact consolidated balance sheets, statements of earnings, and cash flows. Shares are down about 25% year to date.
One regional bank saying, hey, we're struggling here.
But up about 1.5%.
That's
this morning.
some of the signs we're
Thank
looking
you very
for.
much for the very latest on those. Let's turn our attention to Apple because it's been a heck of a
Okay,
week.
Apple.
Third day of declines. Goldman Sachs removes Apple from its conviction buy list. The concerns are around its revenue growth. Ed Ludlow is with me on this. I mean, they remain as a buy, and they have a price target above this level, but we've had price cuts, Ed, in the iPhone. We've had a lot of issues this week.
There's a difference between removing a name from your conviction list and then actually lacking conviction, right? They reiterate the buy. They've actually raised the price target on the stock to $232 from $223. But I guess that what Goldman's doing is amplifying the concerns that are out there, right? The reporting that on some third-party platforms, for example, Alibaba's Tmall in China, the price of an iPhone dropped about $180 this week, which signals some weakness in what is a critical end market. But the language that Mike Ng uses from
Price of the
Goldman
iPhone
is
got
that
cheaper.
those growth narratives, the focus of the market on slower product cycle and the problems in China is masking
AMD,
the
look at
idea
that daily
the
range
ecosystem
getting
is
touched to
strong.
the
I
upside.
find that really interesting because look at our research.
What did we
from
hit?
Bloomberg
Did we hit
Intelligence
200?
analysts. This week,
250 cents. What did we say?
And what you saw
200
from many
level
of
you want to
Apple's
pay attention
competitors,
to.
particularly Chinese domestic
Now this
handset
can go above
manufacturers,
200,
was
but you
them
see how that
demonstrating how
mental
to use
game plays in. We
generative
see
AI
that
on a
resistance at
handset.
200.
Apple has not yet done that. But what Anurag Rana from Bloomberg is writing about is that I don't know what generation iPhone you have, Manus. I always have the latest iPhone or Samsung, but 43% of all the handsets around the world, according to Bloomberg Intelligence research, are the 12 generation or older. And they see real upside because an upgrade cycle could be driven if Apple gets its act together and says, look, we do generative AI, it's just not where we focus so far. I think
go grab my
still some
water
juices
real
out
quick,
there
guys.
from
Be
the
right back.
reporting in the week as well about the end of the Apple Car project after a decade of working on it.
Okay, Ed, thank you very much. And you're right, the nuance between conviction and buy is wide. Troy Goetsky is FS Investments. My guest says this: let the good times roll. The data is truly painting a mind-bendingly rosy picture of the US economy after a horrific pandemic. Troy, good to have you with me. Mind-bending, bullish statement. I mean, there's no hesitancy in you this morning, is there? Good morning, Troy.
Good morning. Good morning. Yeah. No, and remember, there's a difference between the U.S. economy and financial assets, which we have to remind people of to some extent. But yeah, look, you think about the path we walked through. It looked like a very reasonable probability that we'd enter recession sometime in late 23.
Good morning, Osman. Hello there,
about
joining the course.
You had a massively inverted yield curve, which, Lisa was
there is a little bit
earlier,
more we go
and
through
money supply
support
shrinking.
resistance, how to
But if you
find
look
it.
where we are today,
We
obviously
also
consumption's
go
slowing, but the
over
labor
these
market's
weekly
still very,
ranges.
very
We give
tight.
you a simple
It's
way to
very
make
hard
them,
to
but
identify
not the most
catalysts that would
accurate.
lead
But it's
to a
pretty
wave in
accurate. I've used it
layoffs, right,
before.
which would
That's what I
weaken the
originally
consumption
used.
power of the consumer. And
And
government
then
spending
the
is
trading
trending higher. A
strategy.
lot of
So
the
we go over the
stimulus
VIX
is
for a
in the
little bit and
pipeline,
talk
is
about
yet to
the
be
trading
spent.
strategy using
Labor
all of
hoarding is
the
a real thing.
indicators that we
So,
just talked about
the
around
good
the
news for
weekly ranges.
investors
So
is that the
you do also
probability of
get
recession has
more
dropped
info about these
dramatically.
weekly
And so
ranges,
now it's really time to figure out how
about
to put
support and
those cash
resistance and
hoards
things
to
like that,
work, and what type of
and how to
growth
find
exposures
trend
do you want to
lines.
go for, and what type of income exposures do you want to go for?
So,
Well, what kind of growth exposures do you want to go for?
like I said, I keep things
can
pretty simple
understand,
around here.
and
I
I've had a
trade
lot
very
of
simply.
verification
So,
on Mag 7 in terms
but I
of
appreciate the
margins, in
question.
terms
Yeah,
of
it's
sales.
really
So
going to
where
be
else is the growth
something very, very
narrative
useful in
for
the near
you?
future. All of that stuff
Yeah,
put
so
together is going to be
certainly you should have some
very
exposure
useful.
to
Sorry, this talking might
market
be
cap weighted
distracting at this point.
indices. Definitely fade the
We're seeing stuff fade down just a tiny bit with that AMD hitting 200, starting to fade down a little bit. But yeah, the course really, it goes through everything that we talk about mostly on this channel. We just go in depth to it. So MACDs, RSI, support and resistance, some little fun things like percentage chances. We actually teach you, not just the weekly ranges and how to use them. We actually teach you like kind of what they are, why it gives you probabilities, that whole thing. We actually break it down. That way you understand like, oh, that's what this is doing every single week. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And then that strategy around those weekly ranges is so useful, guys, in a more volatile market. Once you see volatility up above price 16, I think in the course it's mainly I say, you want it above 20. That's where it really starts to shine, because you can get eaten alive if you try to use it during a huge bull run. So that's one of the big points about using that strategy. But really just being able to see it being put all together is very, very big. And we even go through charts and show you setups where it would have worked. And one of them was before this last bull run, right? It was at the bottom of this last bull run. You would have caught it. And it was at the bottom of the consolidation. So there's just a lot, and I give you the golden setup, like pretty much the one that has the highest probability of helping you out, of going your way. We talk about all those things. So pretty cool in the course. What are the call walls on the Qs? That's a good point. We can check that out. I haven't really looked at that this week. As far as for the Qs, I keep looking at it for NVIDIA. Not SPX. That's SPY. The call wall, not a ton of calls, actually a 1.978 put to call ratio. So everyone is actually set to be bearish today. If this comes out as good news, we can see a squeeze, guys. We got 18 minutes. Let me just show you guys this real quick. Look at that. We have a almost 2 put to call ratio for today. If you're a contrarian, you'd say, hey, if this starts to push higher with some good news, these people are going to get squeezed pretty good. So not the most massive amount of puts and calls here, the total amount here, but still a pretty good amount. Looks like that first area, 440, right where we're at right now, I believe. 440.83. We're above that right now. Good news. Put side 433. Next one, I would look up. It could go all the way up to 452, just because of all the shorts going in there. This from a contrarian perspective, if this comes out as good news, all these people are going to go underwater so fast. All these people are going to get squeezed really quick. So expect these people to get out right away in the morning if that's good news, and then it starts to trickle down. But right now, holding above 440, good sign as we look at that. That's a very good thing to look at. I'm glad you mentioned it. Good morning, good morning, everyone. Thank you for all, Lucas, for all that you do. Thank you, Mr. Win. I appreciate that, Mr. or Mrs. But thank you, Mr. Win. We'll call you that for now. Really appreciate it. Trying to just be helpful, trying to educate. That's the main goal here. So, TD, is your name Teddy? But no, welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning. Hopefully you got your coffee ready because in about 16 minutes here, this market's going to get even crazier. Right now, we're seeing that break to the upside. Seeing Meta with a strong, Meta with a strong 1.69 move. Looking for that to hit 500 today. That would be the overall goal for today. Is seeing Meta hit 500, seeing AMD hit that 200. It already has. So very interesting. If Meta is able to get all the way up to 500 today, that will be very, very cool. Canada, if you didn't know, Canada already produced decent PMI numbers. Okay, so we got to be sure to pay attention to that. That might be a signal. Hey, there's a little bit of positivity going on. Maybe the PMI for us comes out as positive as well. Comes in a little higher than expected. Do you have educational material if one becomes a Patreon member? Not necessarily educational material. You can ask questions, but overall, I just would say, like, I thought about doing 25 minutes per hour, like something, or $25 per hour if you want to just spend an hour with me and just learn for a full hour, whatever you want to learn about. But I would highly encourage you just take the course first, because that will really give you that sturdy base. If you're really able to understand that course, the videos are pretty good. You can even go through them multiple times, sections that you are a little bit iffy about. And then if you are part of the Patreon, or if I encourage you all the time throughout the course to send me an email with some questions. And I've actually had 1 or 2 people email me questions throughout the course, which is always great. Nothing too crazy. They just kind of wanted to double check their thinking. That's overall what's going on with people messaging me from the course. So it's very, very, very good. That would be the material that's there. And then on Patreon, we just go through, you get an extra video on Wednesday, which if you're paying attention throughout that Wednesday video, and you really like, even if you're like taking notes during it, like he said this, you can start to learn that way as well. But if there's ever deeper problems, I'm thinking about doing little hour-long sessions or something. But that might be down the pipeline in a little while, because I've got a lot on my plate right now. My full confidence. You're awesome. Becoming a member of Patreon now. Thank you. Hey, I appreciate that. I really, really do. Like I said, it's still, even today, it's still developing on Patreon there. So, like, even today, or even this week, I mean, we added that Wednesday video. I just thought, hey, this is a great idea. Let's go through, you know, all of these on middle of the week on a Wednesday and see if there's anything happening going on into Thursday, Friday. Like if there's some kind of trade setup, some kind of probability we can come up with together. That would really be cool. So I thought that was a cool idea. We tried it for the first time this week. Everything was in the middle of its range, a little bit boring, except for Tesla. So Tesla, this sell-off, we actually mentioned it on Patreon, the fact that we keep getting rejected. If you didn't know, the weekly range is somewhere up here around 204. Boom, we see us get that resistance, 3 times, 3 little trades right here. The overall thing that we pay attention to is, hey, look at that triple divergence. You learn about all this stuff. 1 there, 1 across, kind of flat. So you do have a triple top in here. Guess what? We're going to go see if we can take out this low. That's what happened. We're testing this low. So if you took the course, you had a trade here, actually. Even on a 30-minute, I believe you had a trade here. So most of the time I go over the 30-minute because it's just a better indication. Buying VIX ETFs, it's just don't hold it for too long. Some people use it as a way to hedge, but it does decay very, very fast, so you don't want to hold it for too long. I believe like what, UVXY So yeah, 30-minute though, real quick, you do have that divergence up here on the 30-minute. That's something big. That's something big. You got a 30-minute divergence outside of the range. And then we overall stated, do we come up and fill that gap and then see a triple divergence? We weren't able to do that. Triple top at this point came down into the bottom side. Gonna test this low, right? Because we're curling down in negative territory. We're gonna test this low. That's exactly what's happening. Looks like we're holding up there. I would start to treat this as some sort of range. See if we're able to break to the upside or the downside. Now, UVXY is the one that I know about. I've done this one before. You just don't want to hold it for like more than, I would say even a week would be max, because you see how fast this thing drops off, right? So if you get caught in one of these times, in one of these, where you buy here and you expect this thing to explode, well, guess what? It did. It went up to $20. That's like 25%. In a couple of weeks, but then after that, you see when that bullishness comes in. We went from $20 to $836 in like a month and a half. Bought at 750. You could still get above that, like 750. Pretty much like if you see a good pop in volatility, you can see this thing go up by about 25-30%. I would just say, you know, if you're going to do something like this, have a little portion of your portfolio dedicated to hedging or a short position if this is how you want to do it. You are about to maybe go into a slight positive trend. Usually that positive trend doesn't last very long on UVXY, so really pay attention to when that curls back down, because once this gets into negative territory again, you're going to see all the way in the past, what do? We get a spike of volatility, but we always curl over on this MACD. What happens? Well, when we curl over, you see it drop rapidly. Okay, so you can see huge pops in the VIX, but usually those don't last very long and they turn right back over, and then that decay sets in. So I don't know the exact percentage decay per day, anything like that, but I used to know. The VIX itself coming down. Let's see if a 2-hour divergence is setting up, just like we were talking about. I really think we might see that bullishness come in one more time, but we do have this 2-hour divergence getting close to positive territory if that wants to confirm. So yeah, it's kind of a thing where I want to dedicate part of my portfolio to scaling into a position with the VIX over like a couple of weeks. If you want to hold it longer, I would consider scaling, because you can get eaten alive if you just put even $1,000 at say $10. Well, guess what? Now it's at 630. You just lost 40% in like a week or 2 weeks or something like that. So it's something that you can slightly scale into, and I would just have a set amount you're willing to dedicate, almost like a hedge, almost treat it like an option, because it is leveraged pretty hard. All right, let's go see these ranges. We have 9 minutes till that news comes out. Meta hitting 500. Look at that. Meta hitting 500. Great stuff there. So there's my sell line. Selling Meta. Done. So we had a little 100% gain for today on my one trade. That was my trade right there, and it hit my line, hit my 500 line. That's done. All I need. I don't even need to go to the full risk range there. Now, just for some possible protection, I am going to buy a few contracts here myself. I don't think the downturn is happening as of today. I think it would happen later today. And which one? Let's see. So as you can see, Meta going way up to higher levels here. We talked about Meta on the 2-hour here, this divergences that could be created up here. So that's something we want to pay attention to. Still a little bit room to go higher on Meta. We could go all the way up to 515 before next week is over. We actually could see, you know, some of those start to, we could see some of these stocks start to kind of blow off to the top side. 470. Do I want to take a 470? I'm kind of trying to take away from the thing here. Give it a whirl. Give it a whirl. Meta will be the one that I'll play for a little bit going on into the next few weeks. One of them could be AMD. It's just some of these contracts, AMD, NVDA, are a little bit expensive. But hey, hype it up. Good trade, guys. Good trade. That's how I do it. Yeah, I was thinking we were all-time lows, but it seems to be making new lows. Yes, yeah, so it never makes an all-time low, by the way. Is that... Have you researched UVXY? Jonathan? Mr. Marsh? Have you researched UVXY at all? Yeah, a little. See, it always goes down. It has a decay in it, so it has like a 0.35% decay per day. So if the market goes up in like a bullish way, this thing just crashes down slowly over time. You could lose something like 4% per day or something like that if you just see that bullishness come in. So this thing will always go down. That's why you don't necessarily pay attention to technicals here. The way that you pay attention to UVXY is you look at the VIX. Okay, so the VIX is how you would more so want to do this. See if this 2-hour here divergence confirms. This is how you would trade with UVXY. At least this is how you would know, hey, I need to hedge for the next week. Let me see if UVXY is a good buy for that hedge. Okay, I see a 2-hour divergence here. Maybe I wait. If that's able to confirm, we see a spike of volatility. Maybe I can kind of cover some of my losses. Or if you just want to use this as a short tool, you want to do any kind of technicals down here on the VIX. You do not want to do it on UVXY. Yeah, that's something that a lot of people get caught up in. 4 minutes until that news comes out, getting some buy signals, but also getting some divergences here. Meta hitting 500, hitting my sell. Let's fucking go. I'm sorry. I had to curse, guys. I had to. It was worth it. But Jonathan, hopefully that makes a little more sense. I'm sure you do your due diligence and all that good stuff if you're looking into it. But just know it's leveraged. It decays over time. And so the more the VIX stays at lower levels, the more it will go down. Even if the VIX remains flat for 10 days in a row, just stays at 14 for 10 days in a row. If the VIX stays at a level of 27 for 4 days in a row, do you know what happens to UVXY? It comes down because it decays. So if the VIX is at 20 and UVXY is at worth $10, and the VIX stays at 20 for, say, 3 days, 4 days, or a week. We'll say a week. So the VIX stays at 20 for a week. Well, UVXY is going to be at like 950, 940 by the end of that week because it has that decay in it. Meta, one of our first stocks here, coming outside of the risk range for the day, going up towards that weekly move here that we gave you on Sunday. So this was a great trade for me. Just saw all of what's going on, saw this cub, saw the handle, thought there was some strength in this move. MACD crossed and everything. The 2-hour has crossed. I'm just worried about a slight divergence here. So like I said, you want to be able to flip the script pretty quick. Damn, that was bars. But yeah, so we do get that news in about 2 minutes here. So I just wanted to be a little bit careful. I'm glad I got to get out of my trade before that. And then I just took a small hedge just in case because we're at overextended levels again. Great stuff. Nothing else really getting overextended. Now, if Canada has good news and we have bad news, that'd be crazy. No one expects this PMI to be bad news, actually. That would be interesting. Kind of like PCE. No one expected it to be very good for the market, but we overall were saying, hey, trap here first, trap up here next. And right now, maybe we get that trap early on and see that start to fade. We'll have to see. What was one that really trapped us? It's crazy. AMD, like, I would not have guessed AMD ends up at 200 by the end of the week. We said it was possible. We definitely said that on Sunday. We said, hey, 200 is a whole number. That's definitely possible. I just didn't think we'd get there that quick. Maybe I thought this would take a few days to get all the way up into here, ride that 9 a little bit better, but pretty cool to see. This is a trade I did not take, but we can see this big cup right here. We got the handle here on the 2 hour. Boom, we can start to head higher. That full measured move is most likely measured out by now, so I like to go through the bar to the bar here. We will say this right here. So you could say it could go a little higher, but look at that resistance coming in at 200, just like we kind of expect. All right, data comes out in right now. Okay, so we are going to pull that up real quick. Make sure that everything looks good on that side of things. 47.8. 47.8. That actually could, oh no, that actually could be, that should be a little bit bad news. We'll have to see how the market wants to react to that. That's kind of crazy. See if we can find anything on this. If Bloomberg's talking about it. Not talking about it just yet. I just want to see what they say about it, because technically that's coming in lower. That's not the best news, guys. That's actually kind of bad. We're not seeing a market reaction. Let's see if they're talking about it.
Also on YouTube, so head over to youtube.com, search Bloomberg Podcast. Lots of economic data. We're going to break that down for you in just moments. We're also going to talk
just
about
moments. We don't have just moments.
Bank problem, or is it just in New York City with this NYCB thing? So
oh man, NVIDIA getting to the top side here, closing the bigger cup. If you look on this bigger time frame, you would say this is the overall cup. Maybe we get that handle and head higher. Still potential to head higher, but we do have the potential for the top, for a top to form. Literally right here, we have a potential for the top to form probably by next week with Jerome Powell. Latest
fundamentals data to clients at no cost. Take your research.
Latest I would think we make a top is CPI.
We are data dependent. Let's start there. University of Michigan.
All right, I gotta turn this down in my headphones and turn it up for you guys.
76.9. Survey by Bloomberg of economists was looking for 79.6. I'd like to focus on the inflation expectations data 1 year out. That coming in right at 3%. That was expected, same as last month. The 5 to 10 year inflation outlook, again, right on target.
Consumer
with
expectations lower. A lot of Fed speakers, 9:15, 9:15. Got Logan, Waller, and Bostic. Bostic coming out at 11:15, and then two more speakers towards the end of the day, 12:30 and 2:30. Holy crap, that's a lot of speakers as well.
That is coming lighter than expectations, lighter than the previous month.
This is,
we were looking
I don't think you guys realize that's not a good thing.
Major stock averages, they
are below 50 on the PMI. And lower than expected. That is
100 closed
not good.
Records. 7 of the 11 major institute groups in the S&P 500 were lower. Meantime, Steve Whiting at Citigroup Private Bank remains overweight equities.
A lot of other good things are happening.
Are we not going to talk about the PMI at all? Okay, what's everyone's reaction to the PMI? What do you think is going to happen next?
Industries that have been weak for the last year and a half bottom out and begin a recovery. They won't do as well as Mag 7 in terms of EPS gains, but hey, they're at a very different valuation.
Right now, the S&P 500 5.
This guy's voice is nice.
0.1%, 5,100. So that's a intraday record. S&P 500, the NASDAQ right now.
Did SPY made a new all-time high, didn't it?
Higher. That's up 0.4%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average 104 points
Why
lower.
am I zooming out?
That is down 0.3%. 10-year yield.
Oh, did we make a new all-time high?
Unchanged right now, 424. The 2-year, that is down 2 basis points at 450.
Oh, 7. Wait, how many? 8 cents higher on this bar.
That is your Bloomberg business.
Can we talk about the data now, guys? Come on.
All right, thank you so much, John.
Talk about the data.
We did see, Paul, a spike once we got the ISM and the UMISH in the S&P. Like, I get we're only up 0.1%, and definitely buying coming into the front end. It's like, buy everything. It's okay. The Fed's gonna cut. Not at all. What Torsten Slok was saying.
No.
That is so crazy. Oh yeah, just so you see it here. Here's the numbers. PMI 47.8.
They don't. So let's kind of understand what's going on.
Lower than the previous. I just want to hear what they have to say.
Management. So he's the ISM guy. So he does all the stuff. He does all the surveys. He knows the things. And just to recap, ISM manufacturing coming in light at 47.8.
Markets will go higher because no one knows what is going on until the rug gets pulled, and Jerome Powell could do that.
Alex,
I took my profit on my trade this morning. If that tells you anything. I'm really scared of a government shutdown this weekend, so I hedged just now, right in front of you.
And we got a huge deduct in February from seasonal factors.
My hedge was just putting a little bit of money down on some puts here today.
Which you would normally expect to see anyway. So overall, you know,
you guys, I don't have the stock market up for you.
Is positive, negative, or mixed for the month.
Let's watch the Qs. Q's got a good push, so I want to see this.
So let me support this whole thing on the demand side, because the new order number is the one that's going to really flash out at people. By far, the majority.
Sorry, I was reading that wrong. I was like, aren't you supposed to buy SQQQ?
Decreased in half. So many fewer.
I opened SQQQ.
Softer orders, which is a positive
puts.
thing. Our sentiment
SQQQ
around demand is still running at about 2 to 1.
But they just suspend the shutdown. They usually do like last second every time. NVDA drugs
still says we have a predominant amount of people
eventually will
saying
come out when it does this market's toast. Really?
You know, I've been tracking.
What story is that, Richard? Tell us more about that.
That are below 50 industry sectors, and the ones that are below 45, which is a real warning.
I wish you guys could see this.
So I think last month under 45, we were 27 back in January, 27% of manufacturing.
We need to get this guy a camera stand, guys.
This month is
we need a camera stand.
Wow.
And then on the overall contraction under 50, last month was in the range of 65.
Okay, so PMI, they're just saying, hey, this is not good. They're like, hey, this is kind of bad. And that's the overall reaction we should have. But remember what I said, this has been a huge bullish move. If we're going to get news, it has to be bad. It has to be bad enough to get rid of the euphoria, right? I don't remember the metaphor we were given or the example. What was it? It was if you have a nice house and there's a dent in the wall or something small like that, you're going to be like, oh, I still really like this house. But if you go down into the basement and you see, oh, the foundation is completely messed up, now I don't like this house. You see, the level of bad news that we need has to be a little bit higher maybe than what happened today. Like 3 times leverage of the QQQ, so it's riskier, but it's profits. I know, I thought SQQQ was the short side. Did you just... SPXL is the long side. I thought TQQQ is the long side. I thought that's what you would buy puts on. Black swag event. Yeah, see, calls. SQQQ calls. That's the only thing. That's why I was a little confused. I was like, SQQQ goes up when the market goes down. So buying puts on that would say that you are bullish. CEO Nexus. Yeah, I'll do some research on it, Richard. I'll do some research on this later, Richard, because I'm a nerd when someone tells me something like that. All right, guys. Well, Manny's saying that today, or at some point in the future, it can always be a world event that drives the market down as well. It very well can, and Manny, that could be our black swag event. It really could. We could have some swag, and it could be bad. Big rejection on the SPY. We're still seeing those elevated levels. Like, this is a rejection towards the high here. That's really not a good thing. Not what you want to see right now, but that is a bad thing. SQQQ puts get you bullish. plus the decay. Yes, I've seen a lot of people do that. I've seen a lot of people sell calls on SQQQ. I've never personally done it. Definitely thought about it. Because during these runs, I like to be a swing trader and more, sometimes not even deal with options. Just like kind of more of a trader just by buying the stock itself is more what I like to do during bull runs and things like that I think are going to eventually lead to a crash. I don't want to get myself too hyped up. Like if I make a bunch with options or whatever, and I'm not sure what could happen, I just stay away from the options. Sometimes it's just you doing some investments there. NVIDIA and Taylor Swift. Stilts Boeing, that will not hold. Yeah, does anyone know the decay on UVXY off the top of their head? I have a computer. I don't know why. When the UVXY drops about 90% in a regular year, but you can improve. So it drops by about 90% here. Okay. It says UVXY, the scenario is common in the fixed futures. Cause UVXY to experience a natural decay in value over time. Not gonna tell me. Okay, wait. UVXY charges a very high expense rate. 5. Someone's got to have it. I know I used to know it off the top of my head. I used to trade UVXY when back in the day, a little bit. But let's see if volatility is able to pick up. If any fear came from that number, nothing. You guys, nothing from that number. This is what we're talking about. It needs some kind of actual bad news. Now, this can still get ripped away, right? The reaction could be delayed. You have a little 30-minute divergence here. I'm really just looking for this 2-hour to really cross to the upside now. I'm thinking next week we could start to get whipsawed around. Still think there's potential here to come fill this gap. Meta now hitting 501. Look, guys, I'm not going to be bummed out. Look, I could have made a little bit more money here. But so wait, I'm sorry. So the news that's sending Meta higher is Meta Platforms insiders sold shares worth $280,800 according to a recent SEC filing. Zuckerberg just sold all of his stock over the last couple weeks. No, not all of it. He sold just like tens of millions of dollars. Not that you should sell. He doesn't want you to sell. He wants that price to remain up there. But just know that Zuckerberg just sold to you guys. Getting a hangman candle on the weekly, usually very bearish. Yeah, so the weekly side of things, if you're looking at S&P, we could start to see this fade throughout the day. That's not good news. Kind of a very thin, almost indecision here going to the upside. Look at where the Bollinger Band lines up with 511.69, our daily range. Wouldn't be too surprised to see some sort of reaction there. Hourly chart here going to be our dead giveaway, I think. I think the hourly is going to be very important unless we start to boom higher. So if we start to boom higher, you have the potential to kind of go like that. But if we don't, this could be a double topping here. This could be it because you do have that steep divergence here on the MACD RSI at the same time on the 1 hour right next to negative territory. We could start to break down to this level pretty quick, down to that monthly expected move for the SPY. Make sure you got those numbers up, okay? 522.22 to the upside, 493.94 to the downside for the SPY. Not a big range. That's something we're going to talk about over the weekend. We're going to go through these monthlies here and just show you guys this is not that big of a range from a monthly bar perspective here. I think it's only a few percent in the range here. So not the biggest range going on. Don't remember what exact percentage this was. Think of that. For the whole month of March, with all that craziness going on, we only have about a 2.8% move up or down. That's kind of wild, and that kind of scares me, because when you get outside of these ranges, you can see something crazier happen, right? You do have a 68% chance to land back in it, but you also have a 32% chance out of here that it just keeps going. We see something crazier happen. So what if this happens pretty quick? We get this to happen. Boom, boom, boom. We start to break down. We can come down to this point down here around that 482 in the month of March. So very interesting. Now, I did say we probably will get some whipsaws. I really think we could get some whipsaws. We could get some negativity from the Fed. We could get negativity before the Fed and then see him talk a little bit more positively, and then CPI crashes down one more time. So there's just a lot that can happen, and that's why we want to follow the price action. As of right now, what are we seeing? SPY divergence, very close to negative territory. Be careful going into next week. That's what this tells me. Doesn't tell me it has to come down, right? We've consolidated plenty of times when we looked pretty bearish. We've seen little drop-offs, so we can easily stay up at these levels, but what you'd want to see is this MACD able to curl back up in positive territory. That'll be your hint. If we don't lose this low, we just kind of go like this, we could scoop back up. We can just go like that on the MACD. Then we know, hey, this is most likely just some consolidation in here. Maybe we actually head higher. Right now, you still have that cupping really completing on the 1 hour. Let's go into a 15-minute, just see what's going on here. You have divergence on the RSI right now, no divergence on the MACD. Looking around here, Q's about to hit that top side of the weekly range. This is where you got to start to be careful. Okay, right in between here is where you have to be careful. Meta going back. Oh, it's about to go. It went just below 500 again. So, of course, I'm just like you guys. Of course, I'm gonna look at it all day and be like, man, how much money could I have lost? How much money could I have made? But I made money. That's the good part, you know. Apple dipping down into lower levels. This is the reaction you actually want to see from that news. You actually do want to see further selling. About to hit the bottom side of that daily expected move. So we'll have to talk about Apple. Actually, on the Patreon as well, coming out either this weekend or sometime during next week, we're going to talk about these monthly ranges a little bit more in depth for the individual stocks, by the way. So just so you know, we're going to talk about the ranges that we do give out on Patreon. Links down in the description. But that's actually an idea that just popped in my head. Hey, we just got these monthly ranges. Wouldn't you guys like to see a little video around that? Maybe that could be like a Saturday night video or something like that. So let me know on Patreon if you are one of my members. Let me know if you think that is a good idea, either in the chat here or go comment on our latest post. Let's see, Amazon not looking like it's really going too high up here. Starting to look a little weary here, but still very positive. Even though it's overbought, very positive for a 15-minute. Can move sideways, head a little bit higher. Tesla, just stuck in a range at this point, right? Stuck in this range up here. Very good for our Patreon. We found these trades up here. We knew this is where the risk was. Boom, we sell it. We see it sell back below that weekly. We pop back up. Boom, we see it sell back below that weekly. Then we see it pop up one more time. Boom, we see it sell below. We see that weekly, or that, that weekly expected move resistance coming in strong, giving us a good point of reference to be cautious at all these highs here. So great job if you're able to follow that, because you got one trade here. You know, this is overall the trade that I would think about, but you actually have two if you follow the 15-minute here. We mostly do the 30, at least I do. But you see how we could take this, boom, we see that drop off, get back out. All right, this wasn't able to break this low, so I'm going to get out. And then boom, this comes up again. Hey, this is where the risk is. Now I have a triple divergence. Then we're going to see this most likely sell off. Take your little position right in here. I think I just drew a dot. I'm sorry. There we go. Take a little position right in here. Boom, see that drop again. So this is overall, you know, this is a crash course, if you will, a slight crash course of this is like barely any of the info. Obviously, I'm talking about it very lightheartedly. It's not like I'd just be like, oh, it popped up above the range, so I take a short. It popped up above. No, because it still could go ballistic. I want to make sure the signals I'm seeing are there. NVIDIA coming up to the top side again. We talked about this 800 number being very, very, very important today. Actually, we should look at the updated max pain here, see if there's something crazy going on with it, because those do expire today, and we're going to be ending the stream in about 40 minutes, but we're going to go through all the stocks one more time. So let's go through them real quick over here. I just want to pull out NVIDIA's max pain here, see if we saw those calls really pile up. We really have. We've seen those calls just pile up. A lot of puts being put in here, but that call wall at 800 just seems to get bigger and bigger. And now we have calls at 900, 1,000. See the round numbers? Look at the round numbers. 850, 800, 900, 1,000. This is probably 1,000. Yeah, 1,100. So the whole numbers are going to be very important. Maybe the market would like to sit us right in this area. This is where they would make the most money, right? 775. Right in between these two here is where they would make the most money, Wall Street. So we might see NVIDIA stay above 750, but below 800 by the end of the day. I just bit my tongue. Talking too much. Right now, hitting that 800 resistance, actually hitting the resistance from our daily expected move. This is all we have expected for the whole day for NVIDIA hitting the top side, which actually means, when you do hit the top side this early on, you do actually have potential to hit the bottom side by end of day. So that's something to watch out for. But if we start to break through it, kind of like AMD is here, we can go ballistic, right? We can go a little bit higher because this is squeezing. This is very much so a squeeze. And then we squeeze higher. Now we're outside of that daily, 68% chance to land back in it, 32% chance we keep going. And this has been going for quite some time. We really want to see this start to fade, most likely going forward. Meta hanging around that 500 level, right in the area where I was hitting the sell button, right in between here. So now you guys get to see one of the trades that I did take. I did take this trade right in here. This part got me a little worried, but I never broke below this base, so I'm holding steady. Boom, it breaks to the upside. Look at that break. It's because it built up for a very, very long time. To Booster, thank you so much. I really appreciate that you're liking the info. What part of the videos do you like? And also, if there's ever a part that you guys don't like, if there's ever something you guys think we should add in, I am open to feedback here. But thank you so much to Booster. That's very nice. I'd like to know what part you like the most. Thanks for hitting that like button. I saw a little heart go up. Apple, let's see if that's hitting the bottom side of its daily range. This is where we could expect some kind of bounce from Apple. Nothing really holding it up. Let's go to an hourly, see if we can spread out, see if we see any supports in here. This whole zone has been very important. We've been doing this channel for a while. We really got Apple down over here pretty well. This zone was very much so one that is a good example of how it likes to go higher, right? So we blow past a zone, touch into it, see that positivity. You see how we struggle in this zone for quite some time. We blow past it here. We try to touch in it. We actually blow past the other side. So we go past the other side again, touch back in it. Boom, we see that explosion. This time we drop in it, we stay in it, we drop, we stay in it, we drop, we go, we touch the bottom side. So this is where the problem really is, and this is where you can see those big bounces. The top side to go up, the more closer to the bottom side or middle, we can go down. Oh, good. Well, I'm glad that you get that. That's probably just how I talk about things. I don't even realize that, I explain potential moves very well, but I'm just kind of telling you how I see it. And then Apple, again, you can see this one more time. We actually blew past it here. We touched out of it for a split second, touched inside it, got a little stronger move. So that's something to pay attention to. This is why we were a little worried about this bullish run, because Apple didn't do that normal behavior. It didn't necessarily blow past and retest. I really would like, yes, we tested the 200 here, blow past. I would like some kind of touch in this zone to remain healthier for a longer amount of time. You notice here that we blow past an important zone. What do? We go into the middle of it. We go a little bit higher. What do we do right here? We gap below it. Very important. QQQ, today's expected high-low, we're coming right up into it right now. So the high side 442.82 and the low side 435.18. We're going to switch over to a 15-minute here, see what's going on. Anybody have any good trades? You know, be proud. Post your good trades if you had them today. If you were playing this upside like I was, you know, congratulations. Really appreciate you guys sharing some of those good trades with people, and really appreciate it, DeBooster. I appreciate that you are liking this information, finding it helpful. It really is very helpful to use the weekly ranges. Google keeps going down. I haven't looked at Google at all. Okay, so Google was the one that had the head and shoulders up here. Maybe not. Yeah, it had the slight head and shoulders here. So you do have the left, you have a head. This wick actually coming down, you could probably connect this level here and say this could be a right shoulder. Now we're getting some kind of retest into that area right up in here. Could that break down? Now you do have potential that this isn't your right shoulder. And we're actually going to create that right now. That is definitely a possibility, but I have a little trend here. We've broken out of this wedging that I found. So really want to see if that's able to come down into its 200 first, see some sort of bounce. We could see something like boom down to here, go reconnect with some moving averages, go a little bit lower, see if we can create some kind of divergence. But Google not looking strong, in negative territory, you gotta say. Daily is starting to go into a negative trend. Kind of worrisome for Google. Apple, I believe, getting into that negative trend. It's been in one for a little bit of time here. If Apple's telling us one thing, it's saying, hey, be careful out there. While NVIDIA just tells us a different thing. It says, nah, put it all in, go for it. Yeah, be a little careful out there, guys. AMD hitting that 200 level again, and Meta just sitting at 500. Palo Alto, we see that bounce. This is what Palo Alto, I can't remember who was doing that. 820 NVIDIA Lotto. Oh, I wish you luck, Fancy Flavor, but I don't know. You do have the potential for that to hit in 835 today. You do have that potential if it's able to break through there. We can start to squeeze, go to 835, but I'd be a little bit careful with that. So this is overall, someone was bringing this up. I can't remember who in the chat was overall asking about Palo Alto this whole time, but they were saying, you know, is this going to bounce from here? Well, we're at the 200. You can bounce a lot of the time when we come this far out of Bollinger Bands, even like this right here. We do like to reconnect with those moving averages before we head down. All of those moving averages sitting right here. And guess what? We go right there, and then we see that start to drop off. Any flagging that was going on here just got violated. So this can still buy back up, but we said pay attention to the 2 hour. Look at that. It's about to curl over in negative territory. I might, you know, I'm slightly thinking, you know, how cheap is this? I'm going to go look. I know a ton of people are trading it, so I want to see how cheap these are. I typed pawn. I used to market for pawn shops too. $100. Okay. That how expensive do these get to the put side? Pretty expensive, honestly. 267. That's probably possible at this point. We'll take a little bite for fun. We'll take a little bite. This is not something I normally do, but if you're a swing trader, you might understand my thinking here. We break below a 200 on a 2 hour. We just see that completely, fully, really confirm with this sell bar. If this starts to curl over, this can get rapid to the downside. We can see this hit, you know, something like a 250. Really want to look in the past actually and just say, hey, this whole thing in here is pretty important. Maybe even build myself like a little zone or something like that, right? Take the top of this here, take the bottom, and we'd go over this in the course actually. Someone was asking about the course. This is something we do in the course, show you how to find these levels. Look at that. So if I look at these highs over here, where did we bounce from? Well, right around those highs, right where that 200 was where our support really was. a point where we broke through it to go really rapidly higher, a point that came as resistance a couple times. Then we have that flooring in the bottom. So I would say you have the potential to come to the bottom of this zone, maybe even 236. But this is not looking good for Palo Alto. Made 20% on ENPH, going down from 128 to 124. Pando, that's what I'm talking about. Good stuff. Good stuff. That's what we like to hear. Fancy Flavor, I gotta see how your NVIDIA trade's going. This is like, no offense, but this is like the opposite of the thinking for most of people who pay attention to ranges. Usually you would say, hey, if I hit the top side of a range, I might see that fade down. I have a 68% chance it lands down in here. I have a 32% chance it lands up here. But hey, I'm all for you. Let's go. It's back to 128. Hey, is it double topping? What do we got? ENPH. It's okay. Oh, you got cup and handle. You got cup and handle to the upside, actually. Boom, cup. Boom, handle. This actually could go higher here. Let's look at some higher time frames for fun here. 2 hour getting into positive territory as well. Above the 200. Let's look at a daily. Daily, looking like it might cross up. Ooh, 200 right above you. Watch out for that rejection. You've already rejected off it once. Make sure you're able to get above that 200. Maybe play the top of a Bollinger or something like that. But not the worst, not the worst, but you do have a pretty good divergence, I would say, right here. Like, honestly, this is pretty much divergence at this point. Look out for a small divergence maybe in the near future, but that's pretty good. I'm glad you got that little drop off. That really was that was awesome. Use if they start to consolidate at the top side of that range, that will be very interesting for the week ahead. Oh, god dang it, I'm singing it again. Cool. Regional banks analyst, hold on.
That's a question going back to the Fed cut. So if we don't get a cut for this year, let's just pretend game out.
Did that just
come from
Torsten, or were other people talking
No, it's
about
just Torsten, I think. I think a couple weeks ago, people were talking about the worry that we may have to have another hike because inflation was reaccelerating, but this is maybe the first I've heard of no cuts at all. So if that happens and there's no cuts, who's going to be under pressure? I mean,
banks,
you mentioned the fact
regional
that
banks. Someone mentioned one this morning. Guess what? It dropped down to $3. It's
sketchy
25, 30%
right. So
down.
That's an industry phenomenon where we're not seeing loan growth across the group. The Fed
I don't
puts
nose
out
hair.
weekly data.
Now I got to shave my nose hairs. I can see this guy's nose hair.
Quarter to date in commercial loans. So that's a big driver of the regional
Meta
bank,
dropping below 500.
Bank balance sheet.
AMD
so
below 200.
That's hampered.
Nvidia holding a little bit strong right now.
It's going to
Apple
affect banks like probably
down past its range. This is where it can get bad, guys. Either we're going to see a moment where it buys back into this area, or we see some kind of reaction here, or we don't, and it just starts dropping. This is the reaction we should see from that PMI. This is the reaction.
He's not mailing it in like most of
NYCB is overall down 20%.
WTI oil rises to
$80
a barrel for the first time since November.
Yeah.
Wow. So John
wow.
Tucker and
well, speaking about
it's almost like inflation's still here, and the slow soft landing is not the route that we need to take.
I'm up 315, 320.
Too late for that now, though.
That goes to some of the economic data we're getting.
Everything's starting to get rejected outside of its daily expected move. This one holding up a little bit on Meta here.
In a lot of places.
Well, also there's weirdly still a refining pool.
Apple just
so
dropping.
Refining margins are not great, but they're still refining products. Like they're still buying the oil to refine them. So they're still doing that, even though the product crack spreads are not that awesome. So there is that demand pull, but that could wane.
We are sitting slightly above the 23-year monthly trend line. Prior, we only touched it twice.
You're cracking hydrocarbon molecules when you refine. Is that right?
See, you can make fun of me,
Sid,
but you already know the answer.
What is that? Are you talking about for the SPY?
With a question at the end. Is that right? That's right.
But anyway, I would agree. Definitely more of a demand story. OPEC Plus also reducing supply there. Anyway, this is Bloomberg.
Let's get some news now with Michael Barr in New York.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Paul. Alex, John, there were long lines of mourners in Moscow today for the funeral.
No, okay. I'm sad for you. I really am. You got to pay attention to our stuff today. Now, we're just stating this on QQQ and SPY. So there was one thing I was creating. I think it was the SPY from a bigger perspective here. The monthly, drawing the trend. Need to connect this a little. We're bumping our head on it as of right now. Just creating this channel, really, from this high over here with 2000. Probably goes back further, to be honest. It probably goes back much further, but that's just the link that I used. And then connecting these highs, you look at where we're at. Boom, we're coming up into the top side of this channel, and we have divergence set up here. We almost crossed over right here. That wouldn't have given us the divergence. That would have been a lower high. We actually see that extend. Now we have room, because we extended, for more pain, and that's why you've heard my tone over the past month or so, even 2 months going back, just saying, yeah, we're going to hit all-time highs. It's going to be used as bait for a while, and then we're going to see that ripped away pretty quick. And when I say pretty quick on the monthly scale, that could be 3 to 6 months. I originally said this could extend into October, but look at this big booming move. Just a couple, 3 months there going for that consolidation. Then we see that boom again. And good thing we called those divergences down here. But right now we're wedging and we're hitting the top side of that channel. Now Ron W, that's that channel. Ron W uses both linear and algorithmic charts on NASDAQ and SPX. It looks bad in the bigger picture. And the reason that it really looks bad to me, I wouldn't necessarily be worried about this push if we didn't see some kind of divergence forming. And now the opportunity here is, if you don't get a crash here, if you don't get that crashing to happen, and say inflation goes rampant, actually, we could see this extend higher, right? So we don't want this to extend higher. You want this to at least consolidate and then start to head higher in the future. Really don't think you want to head higher from this level. And Ron Walker uses this one. So I just wanted to have something to talk about during those monthly videos, and I was like, let me make this channel here. Not necessarily the most perfectly even channel, but pretty damn good. We zoom out on this. Look at that going up. Pretty good looking channel right there. I wonder if he draws it similar. Us lose Apple. Just checked in. Weird. Seeing us lose Apple wasn't too long ago. Their earnings were propping the entire market up. That's very, very true. But if you remember, Apple actually had earnings that kind of tore the market down. If we want to go to a weekly before we do our final breakdown. Yeah, you both got it to a T. Okay, good. We're both on the same page. That's always a good thing. Actually, let's go to a daily so we can see when that earnings came out. Right here, we actually saw Apple lead the downturn in the past with the earnings around August. We saw that downturn. Boom, we get earnings again. Yes, we really propped that market up. Earnings this time, bad. So very hit or miss for Apple going forward. Not the best numbers here, but we know that was the bullish run. Here were our divergences, all that good stuff. On the daily, on the weekly, or I think it was on the weekly, on the 2 hour, and on the 30-minute all at the same time, right at this low. This was a great, great trade. Now we're wedging. We're breaking out of that wedge. You would have to say, if we're not able to hold up in this zone, I would really look for us to test this low down here. If we come down to that low over the next few days, or over the next, in the month of March, look for that to bounce up back to test this zone. We just said it likes to bust through a zone, test in it, and then go. Well, who's to say we don't actually see lower prices in Apple with that negative trend that it has right now? And then we see a bounce to test the zone one more time, see if that's able to come in as resistance with some kind of push down, and then a reaction from that zone later on that pushes you through this base here. So not the best look. You always can get some kind of retest, right? So we're still in that zone. I don't want us to say, hey, we're past it already. We're still there. So we do have potential for some sort of retest before we want to head a little bit lower. Just wanted to make you guys aware of that. More recently, Apple earnings week, and people were overall on Bloomberg, they were talking about the price of the iPhone. They were actually pulling down, so maybe the sales for the iPhone are not looking the best. That is something to pay attention to when they lower. Think about why, if you were the owner of Apple, why would you lower your price of some of those iPhones? Well, do you think it's to make more money, or do you think it's because people aren't buying your product and you want to discount it, therefore you can get some sales going? I don't know exactly what it is, but I would just say right now, not the best sign for Apple to be lowering the price of their products. Let me go look what product they actually lowered, because they just said they're lowering the price of the iPhone. There's iPhone 30 now, so iPhone 14. iPhone 14 previously $799, now starts at $69.99. The iPhone 14 Plus now costs $799, a drop of $100 from its previous cost. So the 14 dropped by $100 each on both. Get unlocked phone, sign up with a carrier when you buy through Apple, get an unlocked iPhone. Okay, so it looks like they lowered the prices of the iPhone 14. Originally, I thought those were like $1,000 and $1,100, but we're on iPhone 15 now. Yeah, they might just be making room for that iPhone. So that doesn't seem the most worrisome now that could be a lot worse, you know? What will raising oil? Oil is a good indication of inflationary trend, right? So guess what? We saw CPI tick up last month. Well, what did we see ticking up? Well, oil was ticking up. Okay, so that's something to pay attention to. No real divergence here. We could see this get some strength. This is why people are actually talking about them raising rates again, because you don't want inflation to come back into this market. So if inflation keeps coming back into this market, it's not going to be a good thing. This is when we think inflation topped out, and that's where we see our bullish run going back towards October, right? Notice that the top of this lines up with the bottom in October. We see that start to drop off. Okay, now it's starting to go up again. Not necessarily a good sign for the market, but this could just be flagging to head lower, which kind of tells you either they might have to raise rates because hyperinflation is a thing, or they'll have to keep them higher for longer, and that could cause some turmoil in the regional banks and banks in general, the commercial real estate market, all that kind of stuff. Delinquencies everywhere with credit cards. All debt could be very, very bad, and the U.S. is in a lot of debt. So if we do get something to actually fail in the system, that would be a deflationary event that maybe forces us into recession. You can see oil actually come down a little bit with that in that deflationary event. But as of right now, oil, just make sure you know this, positive trend above the 200. Bollinger Bands haven't really spread out, so we could be getting a big move in oil. Not the best look for. I would say CPI. Well, I guess it's March now, so but you will notice some of this uptick. Let's see, January. See, that peaked in January. You actually might see a pretty even reading with last month, because you notice that the February 28th was right along with this high here. So we'll have to see what oil does as far as inflation goes, or how much it contributes to the data. Let's look at the dollar today. VIX still dropping down a little bit, not wanting to pop yet. Dollar holding above the 200 at this point. Waiting for that next curl up. Really just waiting for this to curl up in positive territory. We do have the potential for this to just kind of ride the wave up, right? This is a period of consolidation. Maybe cup little handles start to head up. If you want to trade something during a downturn, UUP for the dollar, you can swing trade that back and forth. It's a pretty good time. Little amounts, but pretty good time. VIX, just paying attention to this 2-hour divergence. We already talked about UVXY a little bit, but paying attention to this divergence. A lot of people would say, hey, we're going into this end of this triangle here. Now, a lot of the time, though, we do see hip-fire moves down out of this type of consolidation for the VIX. That's why I just have my upper line drawn. This could easily just hip-fire move down, and then we see that curl back up. But just being patient. You know something's around the corner. Everything is telling you, especially if you look at that monthly trend line. The monthly trend line is right above us as far as how I've drawn it out. It's right above us. I need to probably look into it just a little bit better, but honkiness. Sorry, I just like to say your guys' names sometimes. BH are my dad's initials, but he is not fit anymore. Ooh, shouldn't burn my dad on stream. That's just rude. All right, guys, give me 2 seconds here. I'm going to go say hi to my girls for a second. I'll be right back in 2 minutes.
The last 3 recessions that we had, they all came from crazy external shocks. How often do you have a pandemic? How often do you have a global financial crisis? Maybe there's a tech bubble. I don't know. Depends on who you ask. But that was in the late 90s. These are sort of triggered by outside factors. If you have a normal economic cycle where you really have like a natural boom and bust, you're going to see weakness around the fringes. And I think we're starting to see that and in the consumers, labor market, as well as delinquency rates, et cetera. And you're starting to see some cracks in the markets, especially with New York Community Bank, right? I mean, that was news that came out. We started to see some cracks about a year ago. It's almost a 1-year anniversary. And here we are in 2024 talking about banks again.
So would that be a call then to sell the rally in small caps? Because what you're describing is really great for large cap companies and really bad for the small guys.
Well, I mean, I think the small caps have been telling us that it's been pretty uncertain because
but they've outperformed, Anna. In the short term, they have outperformed.
Yes. So short term, they've outperformed because the yields came down, right? So if we're talking about a higher for longer scenario, I mean, look at the 10-year today. It's falling pretty dramatically.
What have they been talking about, guys?
Well, I mean, small caps tend to like these things. But if we're talking about a higher for longer, we're talking about a pretty volatile rate environment where it can definitely.
Tim, I see what you did.
And when it goes
it's about to pop up on the screen. I saw what you did.
Higher for longer narrative. And that's not as friendly for.
It's gonna pop up in a few seconds here, Tim.
But on the fixed income side here, I'm looking at just the 2-year Treasury, for example. It's pulling back today off of 7 basis points. But
we're on a 2-hour for the SPY. There he is, Tim Mathewson, with the subscription. Thank you so much for subscribing.
Well, so depending on why you're investing in fixed income,
it's kind of hard for me to listen to a lot of people on this type of stuff, even Bloomberg, when they talk about rates and things like that. But she's saying the right stuff, so I get her. She's like, higher for longer will put the banks in stress. Like, I get that. But thank you so much, Tim. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you guys for smashing that like button, and just thank you guys for being here. It's been a lot of fun. I kind of just took the plunge with YouTube, took the plunge with live video out of nowhere, and I've been having a good time with it. We just spend the morning together, have our coffee, look at the direction of some of these stocks, and then we get down to a final breakdown, and I'm sorry, but that's exactly where we're at right now. So we're going to do a final breakdown of all the stocks that we do cover on this channel, probably go peek at the VIX at the end, okay? So on this 15-minute chart here, we'll break this down a little bit differently in our actual YouTube video come Saturday, come Sunday. Saturday, we're going to go over some monthly charts, just showing what the SPY and the Qs could do, considering now we do have those monthly ranges for March. So join back on Saturday for just a little video, and make sure to join on Sunday because we're going to talk in depth what's happening this week, what's happening next week, how we can position ourselves, or at least get some probabilities for us, get some direction going. Okay, so the SPY here, we're just going to do the 15-minute. We saw this cup, saw this handle come in here. Now we bust through. We're starting to bust up to the upside. We got our daily range to pay attention to, 511.69 to the upside. Could get up there. We do have a trend line right above us as well. So if we want to go a little bit higher, that would make sense. Even going on into next week, I would say that we have the potential to top out any time in the next week. That would make a lot of sense, and maybe it is with Jerome Powell talking with Congress. I believe he starts talking next Wednesday. So that's something to pay attention to right now on this 15-minute. Very, very bullish. Starting to get pretty away from these moving averages. Might need to consolidate in front of this resistance before heading higher. The Qs a little bit higher on the side, and this is what I'm overall saying with these SPY needs to consolidate. What are the Qs doing? Well, we got that full cupping going on right in here. We got that handle, and then we see that start to extend to the upside. So we're seeing that move up. Good structure in this. We said there'd be traps. We have our first one. Is this going to be our second one? We'll really have to pay attention to that moving forward, but it's really doing right now what I say the SPY should be doing, kind of moving sideways, letting these moving averages catch up. That would be a very good thing, and maybe we do make one push higher. The problem is we'd be right near that danger zone, the most dangerous zone being above 444.73. So a little bit scary here, but you have to say this is a positive move. If we keep moving sideways, we could see that positivity come in. Even though the PMI was not good news. I want to be clear about that. The PMI was bad news. Coming in lower is not necessarily a good thing. Maybe people are still confused with the bad news, good news thing. But coming in higher would have been much better. It would have mean we are growing. But maybe with the inflation scares in the narrative right now, people are saying, oh, maybe we don't want to grow in this, but GDP was good news as well, I guess, for the market. Apple going forward, we're seeing those daily ranges. We're hitting the bottom side. Okay, so as we come down outside of this, you do have that 68% chance to land back within this zone. We're in a very important zone. This gray one here is very, very important, and this is where we can find support deeper in it. If we want to see some kind of bounce to get that retest again, we can see that happen. Now, you do have to be aware that you have a 32% chance that this thing's just going to keep ripping. You're going to see one of those crazier events. You're going to see the roulette wheel hit black 24 times in a row, sometimes outside of those risk ranges. So be a little bit careful with Apple. No real reversal, even on a 15-minute. Look at that, just going steeper into negative territory. Not even that oversold at this point. Amazon to the upside here, kind of struggling at this point. Want to go look at my weekly ranges. Okay, let's go look at those for just a split sec. Amazon actually had some more upside here. It really did, but it's starting to see that struggle. Okay, so we're starting to see that struggle in the middle of its zone. A lot of weird, on the 15-minute you'll get this, but it's a lot of wicks going around. So it looks like, hey, people do want this to go higher. Maybe this is some kind of squeezing at this point, but people starting to look like they want to hesitate, which means maybe take some profit. Tesla, to the downside, what we're paying attention to, if you're part of the Patreon, and really appreciate if you are. Thank you for joining. We mentioned in the Wednesday update video that you only get on Patreon. We go through these weekly ranges. We show you potential setups, and boom, look at that. Tesla coming outside, boom, creating that divergence, even on a 30-minute here, coming to the downside again. You could say this is your first one. If it's able to break through this low, I'll keep that short. Guess what? It doesn't break through that low. So then you get back out. You take your profit very quickly. Pops back up. You get triple divergence up here on a 15-minute. This is where that 30-minute divergence was. Boom. You get that buy going. It comes back down into this area. Not able to break below this low again. So maybe you're out of that one more time, as you are seeing slight divergence now on the 15-minute. So we could see a bounce actually out of Tesla by end of day if the momentum swings back to positive territory here. NVIDIA, moving forward, good luck out there to, oh gosh, who was it? Was it Fancy? Good luck, Fancy Flavor. I appreciate you telling me about it. Kind of going for a hero play, right? That's pretty fun. But for now, we're getting outside that range. The big thing here is we're above 800. We talked about how important it was to be above 800. Now we can see a little bit of squeezing throughout the day because all of these people down below 750, down below 800 are getting squeezed at this point. We could see that rip the other way. Now we did notice over here, once we got fully past 800, hit that weekly expected move, which this one's up here at 835. It's got a strong move, so there's nothing saying that we have to stop right where we're at. There's actually a little bit more room here, but last time we were able to get above that that strike price of 800. We saw that fade pretty quick, so really pay attention to that throughout the day. No real divergences on it. This thing could squeeze higher. 38% chance you land up in this area. 68% chance you land down here. So that's something to take into consideration as AMD saw such a strong move. And in last night's video, we said, hey, yeah, sure, you want this as a trader to pull back, consolidate, but this looks like squeezing to me, and it looks like it's going to squeeze a little bit higher in the morning. Guess what it did? Pay attention to the top side. We said, yeah, 199.50, but 200, get that whole number going, and guess what? We go up to about a 202. We see that drop off. So that's something good. Iglesias, good morning. We're doing our final breakdown. I have to go a little bit early today. But AMD hitting that whole number of 200, kind of something similar we're going to talk about in one moment, which is Meta. Meta, we were talking about, hey, it's got the cup, it's got a handle, it's got a cup, it's got another handle, and now it launches forward. This is great liquidity. This is great liquidity for this strong move. This is the trade that I actually took, got out of my position right where I wanted to, right in between these two. I get out of that position. I don't sit and wait for it to get outside of that expected move. I say, hey, this is good. 500 was the number we're paying attention to. So similar to AMD, 200, that whole number, well, the whole number that Meta wanted to hit was 500. We went and looked at those calls. There's some calls up here at 500. So therefore, I hit that sell button. I make my money. I get out. I get to enjoy the rest of my Friday with a very, very good trade. So thank you guys for joining me here today. Really appreciate it. Some things other than that, really what we want to pay attention to, probably the VIX. I would really say the VIX, a lot of things are starting to pile up. You're getting this little 30-minute divergence. We could see a sell-off very soon. You have a little 30-minute divergence. That can rocket you up. If you took my course, you're going to understand everything I'm saying. The 2-hour divergence here at the same time as the 30-minute, boom, we can see that turn up. We might not even go fill this gap. We might just start to turn up. We don't know. And then at the same time, the daily still in positive territory as of right now. So we really, if you want that volatility to come in, you don't necessarily want this to fully go negative, like kind of past the histogram here. You don't want it to fully go. You really want to see this start to turn around. Just overall warning, this is volatility's right around the corner. Once more, we've seen volatility spikes from this area. We notify you every time, hey, this is the area where we can see that spike in volatility. But will it be the crash? Hey, this time it wasn't. This time it wasn't. This time it wasn't. This time it wasn't. This is hinting maybe we're closer. Volatility remaining higher, telling us maybe we're closer. And now that volatility we're seeing is starting to get very, very tight. Explosive move coming from the VIX very, very soon, in my opinion. I just want to kind of click around with you guys for a little bit. HYG dropping off. This is the smart money. So that's dropping off as of today while the market's heading higher. So got to think about that. HYG, the high yield growth bonds, aren't matching this move in the SPY. They've been consolidating for quite some time. And now we're seeing that drop off while the SPY actually heads higher. The housing breaking to the upside, not a good indication for inflation here. This is just the housing sector going up like this. Something I like to trade is nail home builders. Sorry, I keep hiccuping. But this was a pretty good little trade if you were looking at this from even a swing trade perspective and you wanted to be very diligent. You can create your lines in here. Say, hey, I'm looking for that consolidation to break. Boom, you get that crossing above the 9. And you see that kind of ride up. Now you might be thinking, okay, now we're getting outside that Bollinger Band. Let's be a little cautious again, maybe. So good trade there. The Dow on the day coming up into my channel here, still hitting that resistance over and over. But you notice how these Bollinger Bands getting tight. Maybe an explosive move coming from the Dow soon. So hopefully today was fun. Hopefully today was helpful. Thank you for the new subscribers. Tim, really appreciate you joining the channel. And I hope you guys have a great day. Really think about, we just got those monthly risk ranges, so really just think about clicking that Patreon button down below, and you'll get some extra videos too. So we're going to put out, I'm now definitely going to do it. I'm definitely going to do a video just for Patreon, going through the monthly expected moves, giving some ideas of how this could play out, and telling you how you can react based on those monthly expected moves. So that's something that we'll go over. Over the next few days, I'll make that video. Okay, over the next few days, I'll make that video for you Patreon members. And if you want to join, the links down in the description. And we also give a free video, well, a video out on Patreon every single Wednesday where we do break down possible trade setups going on around these weekly ranges. That way we have a good idea going into Thursday and Friday. So thank you guys so much for joining. Really, really do appreciate it. You guys smash the like button every time. You guys are awesome. Every time I open this chat, I'm excited to hang out with you guys. I really want you guys to have a good Friday night. I want you guys to relax away from these stocks. So I'm going to put out a video tomorrow morning. And then going on into Sunday, we'll break down the week ahead, give you guys those risk ranges and the daily risk range as well. Thank you so much for smashing that like button. But thank you so much for being here. And I wish you all the luck in the world trading today. And I hope you have a good rest of your day. Peace.